Hey guys, and welcome to the 222 Tribe podcast. I'm your host with the most, you already know, Zoe Deshai Williams. This is the #1 podcast for affirmations, manifestations, and of course, spirituality. Now, as you can see, I'm sitting here with an amazing guest. And
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
He talks like me, guys. He has the British accent. We're in New York. How's New York treating you?
It's been good. I've been here for Brazilian Investment Week, actually, because it's funny that there's this 1 week of the calendar that all the Brazilian investors and people interested in the Brazilian industries all kind of congregate, and they have like just a series of events every single day. The Financial Times, all the big banks, all the big funds, all the big kind of people looking for investment, all kind of congregate around a whole bunch of events this week. So
right.
I don't know if you would have noticed, but there's probably a lot more Brazilians in town than normal this week. So it's been good. We've been meeting lots of different funds and investors, and learning about applying AI to real estate, which looks pretty, AI in general looks pretty interesting. What can happen with that over the next few years? We're talking about AGI coming online potentially. People are speaking 2 to 3 years. So it's been an interesting week. Lots of contacts, lots of good networking and things like that.
Nice. So guys, the first topic is spirituality and success, right? Now, a lot of people, they believe that you can't be spiritual, wealthy, and successful at the same time. I've literally had people put comments under my Instagram posts about, oh, you're a sellout, if you're spiritual, you got to give to God. And I'm like, listen, God and the universe, they don't want us just to survive. They want us to thrive. We're here to thrive, and you're definitely thriving, Darius, Yeah. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Firstly, I think it's a bit dangerous, this kind of, this sort of hate of money. Like, I understand if you're faced with a decision and it's like either do the ethically right thing or the thing that's better for everybody or a short-term gain, then that's you're choosing money over the right choice. But in general, I think it's also dangerous to reject success or money coming to you, and that's quite a sort of dangerous way of thinking, and that needs to be avoided. And you should be happy to be grateful and to welcome money into your life and not think of it as a sinful thing, and to let it support you. But also, I think always try to think long term. So if you act in unethical ways for short-term gain, my opinion is that kind of won't last in the long run. Exactly. And sometimes if you choose the more ethical choice in the short term you might lose, or what might seems like you're losing in the short term, but then in the medium term, I always have an expression called God's plan, which is like, just we might feel like we're losing now, but we've been acting with the right intentions, we've been doing all the right things. Eventually things will come to fruition, or maybe that sort of failure that wasn't the right path we were supposed to go, and now there's something better for us coming up, or that was some lesson we had to learn, or that put us in a difficult situation which we had to develop and overcome and evolve, because guess what? That evolution was necessary for the big thing that was coming out, and you wouldn't be ready for that had you not gone through that. So in terms of applying spirituality to the business world, I think you can, and you want to be dealing with people who are honest. And in the business world, it's so easy to for people to try to sort of screw you over, even if you have solid contracts and everything. To sort of enforce those contracts, you have to go to court. That's expensive, and if you're in the middle of a project, then
it's energy.
Then the whole project's already got money sunk into it. If you end up in court against each other, then that whole project's failed. So you want to be choosing people to work with who you can trust and who you kind of believe have the sort of right intentions, because there's always a way for people to find a way to screw you over anyway, you know. So in terms of aligning, I think, at least me personally, I try to think of what's the best situation for everyone, what's the win-win situation, what's a situation in which everyone comes out on top. And you might also, you know, if you fight too much in the short run on like your negotiations with people, people will remember that on the next time. And it ends up being quite a small world, especially if you're in one industry, you bump into the same people move around, but then you have to end up dealing with people and your reputation starts to precede you. And then people are like, oh, that guy, he's gonna try and squeeze you down for every single thing in the negotiations type thing. So it comes back around, and
it's a small world.
If you were good to people and you try to treat people fairly, that comes back too. And more opportunities come, because people want to deal with someone who's straight up, someone who follows through with what they're doing, someone who does what they say they were gonna do.
Right, and it's true what you said about how, because I've been through so many things, guys. I'm an entrepreneur too, right? So I'll go through crazy, I don't know, I try and break limits. Right now, I'm producing a show in Italy, London, New York, back to back, and I'm a single mom, okay? I don't know. My friends are like, why are you doing this to yourself? And I'm like, because I can do it, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it happen, you know? And I've noticed that certain things happen, and I've tried to neutralize it. Because when things happen and we feel like it's bad, it's like, okay, it's a lesson. This is a lesson. If someone acts up or someone comes out of pocket, I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with you again. Or I'm gonna recognize this energy and I'm not gonna work with anyone like that. Or, you know, so it's funny what you said, because we do go through certain things and it's like, if it happens, and if we don't get the lesson, guys, it happens again. And if you don't get the lesson, it will happen again, you know? Another thing I was saying, there's two things I was saying. Being an entrepreneur is spiritual. It is a spiritual thing, because you're breaking away from the system and you're literally just jumping into full faith zone. That's it. And you know, you're going with a vision, like your own vision, and you're pretty much just believing in something in the unseen, you know, in what's gonna come out of the vortex, you know?
You have to have faith. Yeah, that's it, absolutely. And you always you know, I always think being an entrepreneur is actually the ultimate art, because what are your ingredients? You're not using paint on a canvas, you're using people and systems and people doing actions. It's like a live ecosystem you're creating of flows of documents and money and action. So it is, you know, it can be a very creative art, and it can be something which can impact the world in a much bigger way than a lot of other ways. So it's good to have the right intention and heart behind everything you're doing. I just done a story on Instagram. I don't know if you saw it. I was like, guys, I'm so excited. My childhood friend Dee. I was like, you know, there's a lot of people feel like wealthy people are always pulling buildings down, and you know, but you know, he's out here building cities and working with sustainability and working with like green earth and stuff like that, and that just makes me feel so good. You know, one thing I learned about you is just growing up is that you are very creative. Because we used to do music together. Yeah, we used to, a little bit. And he raps too, but I'm not going to make you rap. Oh, God. The last time he was in New York, he rapped at one of my open mics in Brooklyn. He raps. Very creative, guys. Even when we made music, we didn't know back then, but the lyrics, we were helping the world. Like, the lyrics were all about, you know, just giving back and just, you're going to be okay. But you're very creative, Dee. Another thing is, you know, you're very spiritual. And then you have that academic mind. You got all three, you know. How do you balance that out? Because some people could just deal with the academic side, but they're not very creative. But you know, you have it all. So how do you balance it? I think most humans are multifaceted, and I think it's like a mistake to put people in a box. No, you're right. And I think you know, people have a lot of sides to them, and if you think, you know, you should be doing things, I think, like, always keep in touch with your hobbies, keep in touch with like doing sports which you enjoy, things like that, but also, you know, nurture your creative side. And you know, we all have to pay the bills and have to do something that is going to make money. And I do think if you do pursue something which you enjoy, you will eventually make more money from it. But yeah, there's lots of sides to us, and I think in this day and age and the way things are moving with AI and increased efficiency from our work, you should be able to do more too. So you should be able to pursue more things, because you can get things done, or at least some tasks, in like 1/10 of the time. So you should technically have more time over the next few years as we integrate these AI tools into your workflows, I think.
I love what you said about like moving with intention. It's really important that we move with purpose and intention. The worst feeling is just waking up and like, oh man, I got to do this job today, or I've got to do that today. Then you're not living. I feel like even if you have to do a 9 to 5, try and find something that you love to do. I think we were all here with a purpose. Well, no, we are all here with a purpose, and we're supposed to be living out that purpose. And I know someone's hearing me right now. I'm talking to you. Yes, you're meant to live out that purpose. That idea that you have right now, you got to do it. Start it. Don't wait. Stop procrastinating. Do it. It's going to work, Now, I'm all about breaking limits. I like to just break limits, but you, Darius, are breaking limits. Okay, I'm like, okay, what have you been up to? Well, D, I'm just building some cities in Brazil.
Yeah, so,
I love that.
Yeah, so I started like 16 years ago doing small investments into Brazil, buying apartments off plan, and then got to know some of the local developers, and then they said, why don't you come on as a JV partner in the next projects? So we did, and then it just kind of grew from there. We had some ups and some big downs. We ended up in court against some of our partners eventually, which again, I now see as just lessons. And because I started off as a more passive investor, ended up in kind of some trouble in some of the projects, ended up winning the project in the court, and then had to finish the project because they were half done. And then that caused me to set up some construction company and kind of real estate brokerage agencies. So off the back of that, new opportunities came. So I had my own brand, my own controlled team, and then good things came of that. And then I was able to direct the projects to the type of things I wanted to do, which was all about sustainability, and we kind of focused a bit on agroforestry, which is a bit of a divergence from real estate, but it was all about producing food that was organic and healthy and good for the soil, good for the ecosystem, no agrotoxins, all that stuff. And then the idea was to integrate it all into one, large project. So, the ultimate dream that I have is to be able to build from zero communities that satisfy most of human needs, which we sell a lot of houses, and a lot of people we have to analyze their credit so that we see what income people have, where they spend it, what their priorities are. We see when they don't pay us and why. And I realize that most people's money goes on their rent or their mortgage and their electricity and their food, and after that, and their water, and after that, there isn't really much left for quite a lot of people. So I thought, what if you could integrate into the way you design and build a condominium, say, so that it has those things automatically included.
Wow.
So you can do, for instance, and all the text there already just needs to be stuck together in one project, like energy use. You could have solar panels which could cover the energy needs of the condominium. You could have wells and water filtration systems and reuse of rainwater, things like that, for your landscaping, for your use in the houses. You could have food production on site, because it's surprising how much food you can produce in quite small areas. Like even in urban areas, like in New York, even on balconies and empty lots and stuff, there should be, I think, more local food production everywhere. Because if you can make food locally, you're cutting out so many food miles of the way where it's been grown in Chile or some other country far away, flown in, and then you eat it. If you can grow anything locally, even if it was, say, 20% of your food needs, that's going to have a massive impact on the fossil fuel use and all that stuff. So the ultimate for me is to get it actually grown inside the condominium where you are. So if you can, buy your property, if you can get the cost of construction down, that's the biggest challenge, and it hasn't really been disrupted so much yet. It's starting to, with things like 3D printing and other forms of prefab stuff, but generally the cost of construction is quite high. But if you could get it down so you could pay off your mortgage of the cost of the house in, say, 5 years, you could eventually have free people. Because if you also had energy use and water use and food, then people can actually be like, okay, at least I've got a roof over my head, food, water, electricity.
Yeah.
Now I can focus on what it is I am passionate about, rather than just get a job to survive to pay those bills. So I think step one for like a new type of society is to try to integrate that if you can. I mean, I'm talking about doing it in Brazil because we can still have greenfield sites that haven't been developed. It's obviously tougher in these built up urban environments, but it's not impossible. The same ideas can be implemented. You can have integration of a lot of those things retrofitted into existing buildings, but if you're doing it from zero, you can definitely include most of those just by designing it a certain way. And it doesn't have to be more expensive than a typical home, but it just has someone's thought about those things. And then if you get to the point that people don't have to worry about how they're earning their money, if you then had an extra sort of service that was available and easily implementable for the local people, that they could then get advice on finding their purpose and really seeing what are you good at, like what do you want to do, what are you good, you know, they're generally aligned. If there's something which you enjoy doing, you're going to want to do it, you're going to do it for longer hours. And guess what, in most industries, the people who are the best are the ones who are enjoying it. So if you're doing something which you don't really like, you're going to lose out to the people who are like obsessed by it. You know, there's always, like, whatever industry you're in, there's people who are really into that. So if you're doing something that you're like half into, you're never going to be super successful. So I think that's the next step. Save them from the pressure of their food and shelter and water and energy, and then help them to find out how they can best contribute to society by them finding their passion and focusing on it and making a real plan.
You know what? I just got goosebumps, guys. I really did, because I believe we're going into this new earth era. This Dolores Cannon has written about this, the volunteers and the new earth, right? And I just think that, you know, we came here to live like children, just to create. We came here to create and not consume. We weren't supposed to be consumers. Everyone was touched and blessed with a gift. Even you, sir, eating your cereal, sitting there staring. But everyone was blessed with a gift and something to give each other and give the world, you know? And I just feel like this climate, this I say place, but you know, like where we live, our world, along the way things got changed. And we have to find ways to survive, and like what Darius is saying, pay bills, and everyone's just focusing on surviving. But I just feel this times are changing right now. There is a shift happening right now where everyone is moving from trying to survive to thriving. It's gonna happen regardless, you know. What I've learned too is, on a spiritual note, is aligning yourself more so with your purpose. If I heard Neville Goddard say, you know, the universe will support you like a chair. Like, you don't have to, if you sit down on a chair, you don't have to worry if you're gonna fall. Some chairs are janky, but more or less you sit down on a chair and you're good, you know? And we have to get back to that trust, because that's what we have within us. Once you trust God and the universe 100%, like in the Matrix, there is no spoon, okay? Right? So once we get to that point, it doesn't matter. You don't have to think about, okay, am I going to pay this bill, pay that bill? Things will just come to you. Your purpose and everything will just start to flow to you, because you're like, okay, I've got this time now to focus on my purpose. I'm in alignment with my purpose. Once we stop worrying about the how, because that creates blocks. And then, you know, the universe just says, okay, boom, everything, you know, comes in. So how did you come up with this idea?
Well, the idea kind of evolved over time. I was looking at obviously because we build gated communities, so they're, which is quite a nice way of living actually, how they live in Brazil. Most people live in gated communities, so you have a few hundred houses, you have your own little private streets, you have your own leisure areas, football pitch, swimming pools, party rooms, gym, all on site, which actually means people generally you actually have a local community, like your neighbors, and the kids can actually go out of the house and run around on the streets.
Lovely.
Which in most major cities like New York or London, you don't know who's even your neighbor generally, right? Or it's not a friendly relationship often, it's often very adversarial, but there it's very much like you get to know the people in your community, etc. So we'd been building those kind of communities anyway, and then we also saw because how it works is then everyone pays a condo fee, and that goes towards running the communal areas. So that's like its own ongoing business, and we would see how that would work. And then obviously there's cost of electricity, landscaping, all of that stuff anyway. So people are paying towards that each month anyway. So why not try to reduce that cost? Because you're trying to think, how can we get the cost down for people, right? And the cost in the condominium are the energy and the water, the staff, normally you have security, etc., things like that. So you want to try to minimize that, to use technology where it can to help. So it was that, and also from a background of being interested in organic food, because I'm vegan, and so I was always looking for
gang.
Yeah. So I was always looking for healthy organic food, and surprisingly, I'd have to go to like 3 or 4 supermarkets to fill one basket of organic food, because each supermarket had one little tiny section of organic food. And then I came across this agroforestry course that was being offered, and I was like, what's that? And then once I heard that idea, it just blew my mind. For people who don't know, agroforestry is where you basically grow a food forest. So you have multiculture, so you have multi-species in the same area. Most food grown in agriculture is generally monocrop, so you'll have like pineapples for miles and miles, just one crop. They'll spray it with loads of agrotoxins to kill anything except that one crop they want. With herbicides, pesticides, they'll put like artificial nutrients into the soil, and that's a constant input. If you keep doing that, eventually that soil gets destroyed, and that's what's happening on like a massive scale. That the UN says that we might only have 50 harvests left if we continue doing the same practices over there, because the soil gets destroyed. Whereas in agroforestry, you actually build the soil up. You have live soil. You sort of use the trees and the organic materials from when you do the pruning. You put that on the ground. You always cover all the ground because you want the forest to feed on itself. So you're sort of growing crops, and you're putting multi-species all with each other, with the idea that eventually you have a full-grown forest with some crops at the top level, then the other underlayer down to like vines going up. So it's like a whole 3D of all different crops working with each other, which is how it works in nature, right? All the nature doesn't need herbicides and pesticides for the trees to survive, right?
Exactly.
But there's enough going on for all the insects to eat, all the animals to eat, all the microorganisms in the soil to be eating, because when they're eating it, their sort of waste product turns into minerals for the other soil for the trees to eat. So everything eats off each other. So you can't just this like system of monoculture with like just spraying everything, that I kind of realized needs to change. But so I was doing that independently, but then I thought, why not put food and real estate together, and just trying to think how all of us could, if we also reduce our consumption, like you're saying, because that's a sort of very something which you've got to be aware of, is it's an endless cycle of no matter how much money you get, there's always someone coming up with some new product for you to consume at a higher price. This jewelry, that jewelry, that jewelry, that house, that car, that car.
Yeah, it's always iPhone. I honestly, I stopped buying iPhones. I love you, iPhone, but it's just like next one. I'm just gonna wait until the iPhone 1005 comes out, and then I'm gonna get that one. As long as it rings. You know what's crazy, right? I'm watching you, and as you're speaking, you got so much passion, and it's so authentic. And I'm just so happy that, we're able to share this with the world, because a lot of people do feel like, multimillionaires, they're bad. All they want to do is just rip people off and tear buildings down and do this and do that. And I just hear so many conspiracy theories of, this and that and boom, boom, boom. But we never hear the other side of the good guys saying, you know what? Because we just hear they don't care about us. And you're really sitting there and you're like, you know what? How can we help people? How can we help communities? And also be good to the earth as well. Because one thing, this is what I believe God has put in my heart, right? Is to connect people and the kids to nature. We have been disconnected from nature, right? And source, because I don't get religious, but source is the source of all things, right? I've been seeing these videos on Instagram of this one girl, I forgot her name, but she has this tree called Gaia. Have you seen it?
No.
And she talks to the tree and she's like, okay, Gaia, touch my face. And the tree literally touches her face. Okay, Gaia, give me a kiss. And the tree literally puts her branches. And I'm scrolling and I'm seeing more videos. People are becoming conscious that trees are not just trees, that the earth is a living, breathing, and
absolutely. And it is. I mean, if you're interested in that, you should check out the fungi's role in all of it, because under a forest they'll have this fungal network, mycelium network, through which all the trees actually communicate with one another. So that is really fascinating. They communicate, they exchange carbon or minerals with each other. If a tree has a baby offspring and it's in the same forest but connected via the mycelium network, it will specifically feed and give extra nutrients to its offspring. So there's a whole world going on amongst trees and within plants as well, which most people aren't aware of and just think of them as,
just cute things to put around the apartment, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like hard enough to convince humans that animals are conscious or that they should be, treated a certain way. So never mind trees, that's like one step further.
I know.
But yeah, we're all alive. We are all one big
We're getting
thing,
there. One beautiful thing is we're getting there. I believe that we're getting there. We are becoming more conscious. I don't know if it's about the Schumann resonance or if it's the sun. I'm hearing it's the sunlight, the earth shifting frequency. But the conversations that I would have with one person one day and now they're completely on another level the next day, I'm actually aware and I'm noticing people a little bit more open and a little bit more conscious. I think that we are shifting into a new era, into this new earth where we are going to be consciously working with the earth and also doing things sustainable. And like what you said, I look at everyone's backyards and it's full with swings, and I'm like, my goodness, you could plant this and have all of your veggies out. Like, I always look at people's backyards and I'm like, where's your veggies, And I think we're moving into that. I definitely think we're moving into that.
Well, I think people have access to information now via the internet, which they didn't. Previously it was a lot more controlled. I mean, if you just think even about it's crazy to think we are probably the last humans ever to grow up without the internet, right? So when we grew up, if you wanted to find out about something or you wanted to confirm a fact or something, you would have to go to a library to get that book. And a lot of the sort of university's role, I felt, was like they're the sort of gatekeepers of the information you want. So you had to go to university, subscribe in a course in order to them to advise you which textbooks you would have to get the information or the right sort of reference list.
And that's
Whereas
Google.
Now it's just Google. Everyone has access to everything.
Right.
So I think there is also a bit of a danger of a kind of echo chamber of you're probably seeing a lot of stuff on manifestation and get a feeling that everyone's into that because that's probably what you're seeing online, because that's probably what you're interested in or you click on or like
my
or search your algorithm. But I don't know, is it really everyone? I hope so. I hope that the sort of wiser information reaches everyone and touches them. And
No, because even my camera guy knows. He eats McDonald's, and I'm like,
well,
what's the
that's
last?
the thing. All that food from, whether it's McDonald's. I mean, it's not just McDonald's. It's a lot of the food people are eating is this ultra processed food. And if you see the percentage, people used to eat from the 70s to now, what percentage of their total diet is ultra processed food? It's crazy. And in the States, it's even worse.
It's
like
terrible.
it's just
terrible.
like,
Yeah.
And that is one simple tip that anybody can do is look online, like look at the ingredients of what it is you're buying.
Yeah.
If it's got like a massive ingredient, if it's bread and it's got an ingredient list this long with all this other stuff,
Don't get it.
don't get it.
If bread.
If you can't recognize if it's all
Let's
long
do that again
chemical
because he
names,
laughed. He coughed. All right, let's do that again. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying you should always read the ingredients list. There's a really good app that I keep on telling everyone about. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything, but I'd love to be.
Go ahead.
It's called Yuka, Y-U-K-A app,
Okay.
and you can scan most foods or toiletries or like cosmetics, the barcode, and it will tell you if it has any ingredients that have been linked to like cancers or the additives or anything
Nice.
like that. And you'd be surprised at how many things that are like that kind of use packaging that would make it seem like it's super healthy. Like it would focus on certain ingredients, but it won't obviously mention the fact it's got all this other stuff.
And then the
in it
colors, the
that
packaging,
poisons
they'll
you.
green it. They'll put green and white and brown.
Greenwashing, yeah.
Greenwashing, yeah.
They will say it's got mango and coconut in it. Oh, but it's also got all these other
Yeah.
They will only talk about the mango, coconut, whatever, but it's got all this other stuff that literally poisons.
May
you.
cause
Like
greenwashing.
Sunscreen, for instance, terrible.
Terrible.
Like most of them are terrible.
I heard
There
it
are
creates
good-
cancer, sunscreen.
Well, it's all the stuff they put in it, you know. So
yeah, it's insane.
I think if people become more aware of that and move more towards single ingredient foods, what they're buying. So, people say, oh, it's difficult to be vegan, it's expensive.
It's
Well,
not.
it's actually in a way easier.
It is.
You can just eat for breakfast like a platter of fruit. That doesn't take any preparation. Just get the fruit. You might have to cut it up, that's it, or just eat it. Like,
Right,
some
right.
peanut butter or something, you know. So
I hear a lot of
oats.
Americans, they're like, girl, I don't care. I don't care. My nanny's gonna hate me for this, but my babysitter, right? She just eats like whatever. But recently, and her favorite word is, I don't care. But recently, just out of nowhere, she started to care. Recently, she's like, I didn't buy Oreos. I decided to buy this. We're eating more fruit. We're starting, and that's when I realized, if she is kind of waking up, then other people.
Well, I see it as, you can not care now and you don't want to do the harder thing now, but then you'll do the harder thing later, which is end up in hospital. And
Exactly.
you pay later. Like you either pay now by doing your exercise that's a bit harder, or like changing your food habits and going from ultra processed stuff, which by the way does taste good because it's had like teams of scientists behind it, working on the way the mouth feel, the colors, the textures to make it moreish for you to eat more than you should.
Right.
There's people like that have hacked the human system of taste
Get the
and fats
dopamines
to
and all
make
of
us
that, yeah.
want it more.
Right.
So, but then there is an adjustment period. When you go to Whole Foods, single ingredient stuff, there might be an adjustment period, but afterwards you'll actually want that. And then when you go back to tasting all
You're not gonna
the
want
super
it.
artificial stuff, you'll
You're not
really
gonna want
notice it, But there is
Yeah.
a period because of your gut microbiome, like depending on what you eat, certain bacteria will flourish, which will
Right.
then literally cause cravings for that, like sugar or alcohol or whatever.
Right.
So it takes time to adjust your own gut microbiome to the stuff that is good, and that leads to a whole bunch of health kind of results too. So,
Right. Let's talk about how did you get into all of this? How did you get into the real estate stuff? Like, what was you doing before? Like, how did you?
Real estate, I was kind of working in finance previously, but I found like I was working with a hedge fund I was trading currencies to make I was managing a portfolio of currencies, but I just found it very detached from anything real. It was just like on a screen looking at Bloomberg numbers and kind of making bets by parking money in different places to catch different flows, moving up and down. And I just felt that was like, after a whole year of doing that, then I was like, what have I added to society other than made more money for myself and carved out money for the firm, for the investors? Okay, that's okay. But then I felt like, at least with real estate, you're building something real that people will use, and it's like housing or...
Can I just pause you real there, because you said something. So Darius said something that made me really think, guys, and this is a message for someone, because it's a download, right? So whatever you do, it's important that I believe we move with intention and obviously with our purpose, but also to help others. We get so much back from it as well, and we just feel better about it. You know, when we do something that actually impacts the world and helps other people, now you're really, really, really living in your purpose. It's not just about making money. Money doesn't bring happiness. You know, it really doesn't. My daughter's 8 years old. I say, Donatella, you want to be a multimillionaire? You want to be happy? Happy, mommy. You know, like, kids get it. Do you know what I mean? Kids get it. And it really is about walking in your purpose and just helping people.
Yeah, because, like, you know, I've been having some chats with my friend TJ Power. Shout out to TJ. If you're there, he's like a neuroscientist that speaks about these all these different chemicals in your brain. So dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. He calls it the dose effect. He's got a book. Highly recommend his book, by the way.
Go ahead.
Very practical. Link down below.
Yeah, do the link. We'll do it.
And he speaks about oxytocin is like, you know, one thing which we get when we connect with other humans. So if you're helping someone else, you actually get happy. Yeah. It's hard for you to like be nice or help people, like you're saying, without feeling happy yourself.
Right.
So it's and you know, there's a couple of and the other sort of brain chemicals. Each one has its own way to generate high ones and way to avoid low ones. And yeah, oxytocin is the one. Just from cuddling someone, you'll get that. That's like free happiness. Free happiness. If you just do a genuine cuddle. Right. If you've got family, wife, kids, one of the big things that couples do, they forget to, you know, it becomes in the day-to-day, you forget. Just give your wife a hug before you go to work. A proper one. Right, I'm talking 10 plus seconds. Right. Guess what that cost you? Nothing. Guess how her day's gonna be? Better. Guess how your day's gonna be? Better. Your brain's gonna feel better. Right, you know, you're gonna feel more connected, you get more confidence from it. Yeah. So little things like that, most of the little hacks in life to make yourself happier are actually free. Yeah, happiness is a choice. And when you're happy, one of the things I've learned about this simulation, right, is that the way that you look at the world is how the world is gonna look at you. And a lot of people look for outside things for happiness, and that's a loss, because when those things have gone, guess what? You're back to square one. But you can actually sit down right now. I tell people, get into your heart space and just feel happy. Happiness is free, because we're doing it backwards, guys. We want this to feel happy. We want that to feel, I want a relationship to feel happy. Oh my God, where's my dream house? I need to feel happy. And guess what? You're sitting in your dream house and you're like, oh my God, I'm not happy. Like, find the happiness first, and then everything else will come and it will stay. It will stay. I realize how many things you have to be happy about already. Yeah. Like, to feel grateful for things, simple things like the ability to see, or the ability to, like, you've got two hands, you're not sick, you're like, you know, you've got someone who loves you, you've got a roof over your head, you're able to watch this podcast on some high-tech equipment. We're living in today's age where, you know, life expectancy is growing. Look at all the opportunities there are. Like, if you start to just, with small things, just to say, I recognize that I have this, or I'm grateful for this, that gratitude energy attracts more of the same things. Exactly. Right? And if you look for the opposite of that, is looking for what's missing, looking for what's wrong all the time. That's how people, then you go on downward spirals, things start going wrong, the energy starts shifting. And
because we're magnets. Yeah, we're magnets, you know. I'm just obsessed with this type of stuff. It's just, it's amazing. And it's something that we all need to know, how powerful we are. You know, everything is you. every single thing, I tell people the good, the bad, the ugly, and I know it because I'm a manifester. I can manifest, right?
What's your manifesting protocol? What would you do?
To manifest, I would say manifestation for me, and I believe for everyone, is always working. It's always happening. It's something that doesn't switch off, right? What you have to do is be conscious that you're always manifesting.
Right.
So then you're conscious of your thoughts, you're conscious of, your energy, you're conscious of your emotion, which is energy and motion, because our emotions are like portals. As soon as we feel an emotion, now we're opening up a gateway to a situation, a scenario, So if you get in a bad mood, it's okay, but I always tell people, don't stay there, get up, because we're magnets. So for me, and for anyone, we're always manifesting.
Yeah.
That energy never stops. It's to be conscious and just in the awareness that, I know I'm always manifesting. That's my thing.
And where do you direct your attention and your focus? Because the world around will change and shift and things will go on. What are you going to focus on, right? So are you going to focus on what's right? Are you going to focus on what you want? Are you going to focus on what you like? Or are you going to focus on what you don't want? You're going to be complaining about the thing that went wrong.
I focus on what I want. I focus on, when I wanted to move to America, people were like, you can't move to America. I was in my early 20s. They were like, you're crazy. You don't know anyone there. You're not going to survive. You're not going to do this. I'm going, I'm packing my bags. I'm out. Peace. Mama, moving to America. Peace. Bye. And I was gone because I had so much faith. And that's why I said, like the chair, the universe is going to support you. Just chill out. We block ourselves with the fear and the doubts, but as long as we let the fear and the doubts go and we just say, you know what, just do what you got to do, and everything will just roll in. So for me, I'm just focused on the positives, and I'm conscious of when something negative comes up, I neutralize it. I'm like, okay, this situation is not comfortable. I don't say the word bad, but it's here for a reason. I'm either going to learn from it or it's going to bring something good into my life. And I transmute it. I'm a transmuter.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's two ways I try to transmute things. Is I always ask myself, where's the opportunity here? Okay. Because often when something goes wrong or not as planned or as you'd planned, it could be that actually it's creating a better opportunity. So if you just by asking that question, you start to attract the thoughts that will be the solution, rather than, there's a problem, that didn't happen.
Exactly.
That guy didn't buy it. Guess what? That guy didn't buy the thing because there's some other guy who wants to do something better than that, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I have to bring this up. Sorry, you just put something to my attention, and it's about frequency. I'm gonna give you guys an example, right? There's this place, I'm not gonna get too deep into detail, but there was this place, and I knew a friend of mine wanted to go to a place like this, right? She needed it. She just needed to go to this space. And I said, oh my goodness. I saw it online and I was like, this would be perfect for her, And I saw it and I was like, they do this, they do this, they do this. And then she was like, I looked and I looked and I looked, but I never saw this place, And she was like, how did you find it? And I was like, it just popped up right online. And then she looked for certain classes, certain things, and there was always a block there. Nope, they don't do this, they don't do that, they don't do this, and boom, boom, boom. And again, I would always find the perfect, I'd be like, well, look, this is what you need. It's right here. And then I'm realizing it, she can't see it, guys, because she's not in tuned. I'm in tuned to the positive, and oh my gosh, the class is here. You could do that class, and then you could do that, and then this is perfect for you. And she couldn't see it. She couldn't see it. And when the class happened, I had to show her online, look, you could have gone to that. But so we have to be very, very conscious of our energy, because I'll tell people, because I'm very positive, right? I'm very high vibrational. I'll be like, oh, you could do that. You just don't get it, Dashai. You just don't get it. And I'm looking at the person like, man, you got to save yourself. Because if you stay in that freak, at that point, I have to walk away because I can't help you.
You got to be careful.
Got to help yourself.
Surrounding yourself with people that can be dream killers, and not to go into their frequency of like, it can't happen. This, don't do that. There's too much. There's always risk in everything you do, right? Mm-hmm. But there's risk in not doing too, because you can get to the end of your life and end up kind of regretting. So I'd say definitely surround yourself with people who believe in you, people who, as you sound like you are anyway, people who are like on your frequency, people who can uplift you or support your goals and your impossible dreams, you know?
I gotta be honest, and I'll say this to everyone at home too. The more my frequency was, went up, a lot of people left.
Yeah.
A lot of people just started to, and I'm okay with that. The people that are around me now, they get it. They're like, you need to do TED Talks. You need to do this. You need to do that. Like, and I'm just like, it feels great. I would rather have maybe 3 really cool people in my corner than 100 people that just don't get it. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. And they can bring you down, yeah. So
you want to be like Darius, building cities. Building cities. Let's talk about lastly, your spiritual practices. Do you meditate? How do you get into a zone?
I mean, I go through phases of meditating a lot and then not, which isn't ideal. I feel I think there's many types of ways you can meditate too.
Yeah.
You can sit there in silence or watch your breath or whatever, but I think it's as important to get into kind of flow states, and whether that different people can do that in different ways. Sometimes it could be active. I find when I pick up a pen and paper, ideas flow in a certain ways that they don't if I'm like looking at a screen and typing.
Oh yeah.
So
that's ancient. That's ancient knowledge.
Something. I think there's something with humans, and like, I speak to some people who channel as well, and some of those they have to write. They use automatic writing, so something can happen. Like, I think there's a famous one in Brazil, Chico Xavier. He used to write everything, and sometimes they would channel, not know even what they're writing, and then afterwards have to read it, kind of thing. So I think there's different ways you can connect with different flow states. Meditation is one because it helps you to observe your own thoughts and not just jump in, not just be thrown by the thoughts. And you might be able to ask yourself by observation, quiet observation, is this thought serving me, or is this a part of, do I need this, or do I need to continue thinking that and feeding that, or can I, that's not very helpful. Let's let that one go. Oh, that one's come from where? That one's come from an outside influence. That one's come from a previous trauma or whatever. Let those ones go until it's kind of emptier, your thoughts, and then choose the ones you want.
Shadow work.
Yeah. Choose the ones you want that serve you, and then get into flow state. I mean, but in terms of practice, like, I think it's a lot of little things. I think remembering to feel grateful, generally, like trying to, it's not so much spiritual, but just like optimization of human experience. I think if you eat well, if you sleep well, if you do exercise, if you try to focus on your purpose and be loving and helpful to the people around you, if you just do those things, you're 80-90% of the way. And there's no mention of a religious dogma in any of that. Any human following any religion can do those things, and if we all did those things, the whole society would be uplifted, I think. Yeah, I agree. And be kind, guys. Be kind, because we are all one, right? And if someone triggers you, you need to figure out why does that trigger you. And when you're mean to other people, it's like what I tell my daughter, you're being mean to yourself. We have to just be kind, be there for one another, and be like Darius, build cities and everything. Everything is, we're unlimited beings, man. We can actually do anything. Nothing is impossible. If it's good and it supports other people, it's just gonna thrive. You're just gonna thrive, So I'm gonna close it out with that, Darius. Did you have anything else you would like to say to the viewers at home in regards to a young budding entrepreneur? Do you want to give them any pointers? I would say if you're young, then that's the best time to give it a go, because you have plenty of time to fail and you learn from your failures, and each one will take you a step closer. So don't be afraid of stepping out into the darkness, because the steps will appear as you go, and keep alert and aware to when the universe starts to put in the little pieces of the puzzle that will get you to it. So
Yeah.
you have to, that's when the faith comes in.
Yeah.
You don't know the how, but you take the first step, because it's never going to be no successful entrepreneur when I'm going to do that straight line there. No, most of them thought, I'm going to do this, take a first step, walk out a little bit, and then something else comes up. They go on a tangent, and actually they needed to turn because there was something else better for them. But you've got to be in the game. You can't project and imagine everything from zero. You've got to take the first step, and from being in the game, you'll see opportunities and it will happen for you.
Exactly. All right, guys, so I'm signing out. 222 Tribe. But thank you so much for coming out, Dee.
Thanks for having me, Shai.